I beat Schedule 1 normally, I beat Schedule 1 without committing any crime, but can I beat Schedule 1's zombie apocalypse? Yes, thanks to some wonderful modders on the Schedule 1 Nexus mods page, you can in fact have a zombie apocalypse scenario in Schedule 1. I have exactly 4 days to get everyone on my good side, get my arsenal ready, and find a place to make my last stand. Will I be able to make it through to Monday morning? Let's find out. So to give you a basic description for this mod, the Incident, also known as Zombies mod, adds a deadly disease to Highland Point, but this has some weird rules. The disease only presents itself at night on Sundays, so basically once a week you have to hunker down and fend off the whole town while trying to make your deals, if you're still playing the game normally at least. I, of course, won't be. My main goal is to see how hardcore this will get and basically doomsday prep for the inevitable apocalypse that sits before me. To do this, I want everyone on my good side. If this is in fact just a disease and everyone is going to be infected, it's possible that people who really like me won't want to attack me even if they get infected. Since in most zombie media, the people are actually dead and thus lose their familial connections, like in The Walking Dead for instance, this idea wouldn't really work for them, but if these guys are going to go back to normal on Monday morning, it's definitely possible. I am also going to need ammo. Okay, I'm a bad shot as is without a crosshair, and only have a revolver unlocked so far in my personal world, so this should end up being a challenge with a normal amount, okay? So, I might as well mitigate that by getting as much ammo as I can. And I want an unpenetrable base to hold down in. Something that no zombies will be able to get to, but also that isn't blatantly cheesy, okay? I know I'm the cheese king, but I'm not just gonna stay at home and wait this out. No way in hell. And finally, if I do go down, I'll be going down swinging. So, starting off with getting on people's good side, I hit the streets. I decided to accept every deal that came my way with their original price, because, you know, best not to upsell the people you're trying to have not kill you when it basically becomes Purge Night. But that's also another fun mod idea for you there. You can have that one free of charge. And while I waited for those orders to come in, however, I decided to explore. I knew that you could purchase property like the barn and the warehouse, but I figured that that would be too easy to survive in there, since player purchased property seems to have superpowers in this world. Like, somehow, cops can walk past my open motel room door full of everything needed to clearly prove I'm illegally selling, pharmaceuticals to the masses, and they don't care. And clearly they end up having probable cause, but they still don't do anything, so that makes it player houses kind of OP for this challenge. Instead, I wanted somewhere on the map that gave off Walking Dead vibes, but isn't as bang on as Herschel's farm. I'm sorry, I mean the barn. Because we all know what would happen if I were to open that barn on Sunday. And honestly, I wish I could make this part longer, but I almost immediately saw a house on top of a hill. I figured that the surrounding area would be perfect, because, you know, a steep hill providing the very advantageous high ground, and no way of being snuck up on from behind, but I found far more than I had bargained for. This, I believe, is what I've been seeing called the Mansion in online reels or shorts, an either new or upcoming player home for a future Schedule 1 update. It's absolutely beautiful. It has 2 fireplaces on the ground floor and 4 rooms above that on the second, and I also learned that with use of the skateboard trick, I could in fact break and enter my way into it without having that beta version, which I think could either be a special beta version that's given out to certain people for this mansion, or it's just a mod that allows building within the mansion. But either way, I knew I wanted to have my last stand here. Plus, imagine how good that would look in the title of the video. I fought a zombie apocalypse in the Schedule 1 mansion. I don't know, it sounds pretty good to me, but we'll see what vidIQ has to say, and if it's changed, then you'll know that's why. After going around the inside of the mansion for a bit, doing some commentary that I was unaware wasn't actually recording, I went back down and did my deals. Meg wanted 4 OG, Kyle wanted 5 Sour Diesel, Ludwig wanted 4 OG, Peggy wanted 4 Ultra Gruel, Ms. Ming wanted 4 OG, Jessie wanted 5 Green Crack, I mean of course she wanted Green Crack, look at her. Beth wanted 3 Sour Diesel, and George wanted a whopping 10 OG. But also, by the way, come on, what's with all this for? Just order 5 and let me give you a jar, okay? I don't want to have to keep bagging all this crap. This also isn't the order I did the deals in, and it normally wouldn't be, as I try my best to have the most efficient route between deals, like some sort of autistic Pablo Escobar. But honestly, this time I was just focused on, you know, the apocalypse. Normally, I would try to upsell both Kyle and George. Kyle because he's a big spender Thunder and George because he wanted a whopping 10 grams. But again, the point is to try to get people to like me, so I took everything at its original offer. After evading the cops by hiding in a dumpster, which basically feels like my natural habitat now after spending so many hours picking up garbage for my last video, I ended up finishing the day with around 19,400 bucks, as much as possible of which will be going towards ammo come Sunday. That's really how Friday went too. You know, I did some exploring, wondered if zombies would be able to find me in and open dumpsters after my foray with the cops, and found out that there were some decent parkour spots on the map which I knew would work in my advantage. But again, it felt cheesy doing that, but at least not as cheesy because, you know, you can fail the jumps. And I'm looking forward to the parkour update when that comes out because that's going to be even more fun. I took out someone who liked me a little too much as a kid and managed to break into the church using the skateboard trick, which is hella weird because there was no interior. I was basically just inside a solid object like Barry Allen phasing through a wall. Explain that, atheists. After questioning my lack of faith, though, I did some deals with their base prices. Saturday, however, is where things kinda went off track. I felt like people started taking advantage of my newly found strategy for the apocalypse, so they started to really lowball me. Now, according to the game, this wasn't lowballing, because these were all over the game's fair price estimate, but still, there's no fair price when it comes to illegally sourced pharmaceuticals. The day started off normally. I guess Highland Point is in California because I experienced an earthquake, but then something just broke in me. I thought I had my commentary recording this whole time, so I was talking about how Jessie was on the queso graffiti, and I said that I liked her too, but wanted to cut in a clip of me bashing her head in as a joke. But then that just sent me into a bloodthirsty rampage. I had her sit up against the bar to make it look like she was just passed out drunk, and then I knocked on the door. But instead of telling them that she was passed out, I took the baseball bat to Greg's head instead. Then, while going home to package product, I saw Keith, who was the first person to attack my girlfriend in her world, so of course I had to take care of him and throw him in the drink so they wouldn't find his body. And I thought that was going to be it. But then the orders came in. The first few were good. George wanted 10 for a good price, Chloe wanted 3 sour diesel, but then Peggy texted me. She wanted 4 Ultra Gruel for 410, which is fine, that's more than $100 a pop. I'm sure most people would be happy with that, especially since it's 99% addictive. But literally just a few hours ago in game, a few minutes in real life, I told her that 4 Ultra Gruel would run her at least $450, and she accepted that. But then, she came in again lowballing me once more. What the actual fuck? So my plan changed. I was going to accept, but then I countered her offer. I told her that she could have all 4 of that Ultra Gruel for literally $1 single. But I had no intention of giving that to her. And then I started doing this with the other lowballs. You know, Charles, Chloe, Peggy, and Kathy all took a baseball bat to the face for lowballing me, even after I had originally accepted their offer. But the good paying customers still got their stuff. Because you know what? I'm not a pushover, and the citizens of Highland Point need to know that even if there's a zombie apocalypse, I'm their only source of weed, so they need to pay properly. After a night of ruining my relationship with a bunch of people, I knew that Sunday night was going to be a wild one. So I didn't accept any deals, even if I could do them before the streets turned green. Earlier on Saturday, I broke into the warehouse using the skateboard trick and had to do so repeatedly every time I left, and spent a good bit of time loading up my van with ammo since I figured a car would be a good way to get around during the apocalypse. But when I went back today to fill up my inventory, the doors were locked down hard. I tried multiple doors and multiple camera angles with the skateboard trick to get the door open, but even if I could see the prompt to open the doors, it just wouldn't budge. I don't know if this was part of the mod trying to stop you from loading up early, but no matter what, it wasn't working. So, I had to wait until 6 for the doors to open. It's worth noting that as this was my first time playing with the mod, I didn't know when the apocalypse would start and when everyone would turn green. But I didn't want to take any chances. I thought that it could happen at 6 because that's when all the stores close up, and that I could be walking into a well-armed zombie den. But I took the risk anyway. It turns out, there weren't any zombies, and I got the rest of my inventory loaded up with ammo instead. After that, though, there was nothing else for me to do, since I had no deals and no plants to harvest, so I went home and waited. I cut recording at this point since curfew wasn't close, and that's the other time I figured things might change, and luckily noticed my audio hadn't been recording. This did kinda bum me out and discourage me from making this video, but I was inspired by the overwhelming amount of support from the last one, and thank you for that, so instead I fixed it and kept going. I am so glad that I did. I had noticed that some of the lights had turned red before the curfew started. Things like my halogen lights over my plants turned from white to red while I was at home, which was very freaky, but then so did the save game button. Instead of being white while the game was saving and green when it was done, it was red and then turned green, which is definitely off-putting. Knowing this, I went outside and patiently waited with my machete for things to kick off, wanting to try my various hiding spot ideas before making my way back to the mansion for the final standoff. I'll just let you hear my reaction when things started. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait. Oh, the bus stop light's red. That's kind of weird. Oh boy. Okay. Oh boy, that's ominous. Okay. Wait, yo, is Keith over here? I kind of want Keith to be my first kill. Should I get... You know what? Yeah, no, I want Keith to be my first kill. Come here! After following Keith so I knew where he lived, I thought things might be broken since I was in the beta and not the official release, cause he wasn't a zombie. But then, I found Meg. At first, she seemed chill. She was a zombie, but I thought my strategy of getting people on my good side had worked. But I guess she must have been friends with Chloe, Peggy, or Kathy, because she started swinging. I thought the mod was going to turn the NPCs into modified cops, since cops can know where to look for you during the investigating phase, and they know the direction you run in, which could have made for some really nice horde combat, but that wasn't how the mod treated zombies. Instead, she just came at me like an angry customer, but instead of weed, she wanted cheese. And by cheese, I mean me, because I'm the Cheese King. Also, subscribe if you haven't yet. Wink. I knew that cops could open dumpsters because I got busted earlier in the week trying to hide in one, so I wanted to try it with zombies too. I figured that the most realistic thing would be zombies unable to open dumpsters because they'd be too stupid or weak, but of course, this game isn't necessarily going to be realistic, and I figured that her opening it was more likely. Part of the commentary that didn't record was me talking about a reel I had seen on Instagram of a former drug dealer playing Schedule 1, and complaining about how it wasn't realistic. Because you can't just plant the seed in soil and hope that it grows, you gotta wet a paper towel and then put that around a seed and then into a plastic baggie. Like, bro, this is a game. Are you really mad that they simplified it but still made it way more involved than any AAA game studio would have made it? Like, are you gonna be mad that the plants don't take 8 months to grow either? If you want a realistic experience so bad, you shouldn't be a former drug dealer. But rant aside, I was right, and she was able to open the dumpster. My next idea was the house with the glitched window. If you didn't know, the house at the end of the street that the bungalow is on actually has a window that has no collision. You can use this to escape cops in a pinch, but with some risks since they can sometimes see you through windows and walls. But while I wasn't going to stay here because it was cheesy, I wanted to see if zombies could follow me inside. I ran in while Meg was chasing me and knocked on the door hoping for a distraction meat sack, but she couldn't follow me through the window, so that was nice. There was, however, the slight issue that the man who lived in this house was also infected with the virus, and me knocking on his door brought him outside and made him come after me too. I nearly lost right then and there since I was trapped on this porch after going out the window, but I managed to get away and then went out looking for more zombies. I skateboarded away after the cops saw me, and saw McLovin's wife run out the door and try to chase me. I guess she's still mad that I scammed her husband with gold bars in my last video. I got away from the cops and ran into Austin, who was still a man. I thought that I had finally found a friend, and then he literally turned right in front of my eyes. So I got the hell out of Dodge. Like, even though I hadn't screwed him over like some other clients, I wasn't going to risk that right now. I ran around, ran into more zombies, and decided to make my way into the mansion. mansion. At this point, I had totally forgotten about the car with all of my ammo in it, the entire point of playing the few days before Sunday, but I guess that's what happens when you're panicking, like in my From the Fog video where I was so scared and focused on getting Wolfer a bed that I completely missed a full bed that I could have taken when it was right in front of me. I went back to Austin's house real quick to see if he was still infected, but there were 3 people living there, Kyle, Austin, and Meg. I knocked and brought each one of them to the door, and interestingly enough, they didn't attack me. I think my strategy of getting people, especially Kyle, on my good side had actually worked, since I could have a straight-up conversation with Kyle. But my inner Sam and Dean did take over, and I took each of them down. Kyle even tried calling the cops on me for attacking him as a zombie, which reminds me of the Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid episode of Supernatural, where a zombie says he's still a citizen.
Whatever he is or isn't, that don't give you the right to shoot him in the middle of the street.
Shoot me?
You're free to go, Mr. Thompson.
Free to go? I can't believe you were going to kill me. You're a zombie. I'm a taxpayer.
After some thoroughly dispatched justice, I make my way towards my final stand, running into some more zombies along the way. Some of them, however, ignored me, making me think that my strategy of making people happy really did work. When I had gotten uptown, I did have some zombies trying to eat me, but luckily getting on top of a car seemed to stop them from getting me, but this would have been boring for the rest of the video, so I kept going. I gotta say, having a zombie chase me through the woods at night with a shockingly red flashlight was absolutely terrifying, even in a game that doesn't have realistic graphics. Okay, if this had the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake graphics, I probably would have shit myself, but luckily it didn't, so I didn't want to die. And now that I've mentioned Elder Scrolls Oblivion, I can add it to the tags and hopefully get this video more visibility. The cops, however, did seem to notice me taking shots, and eventually they got mad at me. I don't understand why, since, you know, I'm shooting at literally zombies, but I guess the zombies have cops in their pocket. Or maybe there's something even more sinister? Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. Since it was me against basically just the cops now, I ran to the mansion thinking I would be safe. I mean, the signs say private property and the gate doesn't even open for me. I have to parkour around the side of a fence to get in, but I had a very rude awakening. After failing the jump a couple times while getting shot, I did manage to make it, only to be greeted by cops instantly following me inside. Like, bro, I had to jump through hoops the size of a dick hole just to get here, but the gate's just open for you, even though it doesn't visually open. That's just plain rude. So, yes, I had to do some more illegal things like shooting cops to avoid getting busted. But here's the big twist. Some of the cops were actually zombies. It was hard to notice, since I was more focused on avoiding handcuffs, but some of the cops had the signature zombie green skin, but they were still shooting guns at me. Like, zombies with body armor on their own are a big deal in zombie media, because how are you gonna kill that? In Left 4 Dead, for instance, they're a tougher version that can take some hits and absorb some ammo. This one was shooting back at me. So yeah, I had to take some shots at them. Luckily, I learned that they couldn't get into the actual mansion itself, probably because it's going to be a player home, so I used that to my advantage. But in my confidence, I eventually did get busted. Strangely though, when I was released, I got released at the front door of the mansion, instead of the bungalow, probably because it's a future player home. So how do you feel about Zombies in Schedule 1? Because I kind of liked it. Should this be an actual feature, since zombifying is actually a drug effect? I mean, it could make sense and add a nice bit of difficulty and replayability to the game, so let me know in the comments. And also let me know any other challenges or mods that you want me to try as well. If you enjoyed, be sure you hit like and subscribe if you want more Schedule 1 videos, and share with a friend who's as good as Benji, who didn't turn into a zombie, by the way. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been in Showerman Colin Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.